What's going on, YouTube? Glad you guys were able to make it with us once again for that
bro code.
You all. How have y'all been? If you've been rocking with us all this time and have continued to watch our videos, go ahead and leave in the comment section, how have y'all been? Because y'all hear about how we be here. You know?
Right, yeah, that part, right?
So, yes, bro, man, we got this, this story. It's a sad story, but there's so many lessons to be learned from this.
Right.
It happened right here in the city of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And so, I'll go ahead, I'm gonna let the clip roll.
5 people are dead and dozens more hurt after a 5-alarm fire ripped through a Milwaukee apartment building. The fire started around 8 a.m. yesterday on Mother's Day. Many people were still sleeping at the Highland Court Apartments near 27th and Highland in Milwaukee's Concordia neighborhood. Firefighters and neighbors rescued people from 3rd and 4th story windows. Crews were on scene for hours throughout the day and into last night. They are investigating this fire as arson. News Chopper 12 flew over the apartment this morning. From the outside today, you can hardly see any damage or signs of a fire. 12 News' Duke Carter joins us live from Holler Park, which is at 6th and Edgerton in Milwaukee. Duke, that's where the Red Cross has set up a shelter.
Yeah, the Red Cross is actually assisting people here, as you just mentioned, here in the Holler Park in this shelter here over my shoulder. And while we have heard different varying opinions about how operations are ran, some people like it, some people don't. What we can say, the common theme among the people here is that this fire started after an argument. Now, we did catch up with a couple of people who told us they had to jump or get rescued from top floors. One even had to catch a baby from the 4th floor of the complex.
I hope I catch this baby. That's all I was saying. I hope I catch him. And don't drop him on the ground. I hope I catch him. And like I said, God was with me when I called him.
My smoke detector goes off. So I go out there, smoke. My apartment is filling up with smoke. So I try to open the door to see, and it was just the hallway was full of flames. You couldn't get out there.
Now, firefighters arrived on scene just before 7:45 Sunday. They had to use ladders to pull people from those upper floors. And of course, with the flames moving through the building, crews upgraded to a 5-alarm fire, the highest level to bring in additional crews and resources, some crews coming from Tulsa as well as West Dallas. Now, the fire chief was saying the building didn't have sprinklers since it was built in 1968 before the sprinklers were required by code. Buildings constructed in the 70s, though, were grandfathered in and not required to add sprinklers retroactively. A lot of people we spoke to say, well, Dad didn't have a fire before then, so what was the issue? Well, we spoke with Mayor Cavalier Johnson on his thoughts, if the city can do anything to prevent something like this from happening in the future.
That building was grandfathered in. It was built in the 1960s. It wasn't until the 70s that there was a requirement to have a sprinkler system in there. But as was mentioned the other day, that's an expensive endeavor. But at the same time, like, we had lives that are lost. You know, what's more valuable? You know, having sprinklers in a building or preserving the life of individuals who live in a building like that. So very challenging. I want to see what the city's powers are in terms of, you know, addressing things like that.
Duke, the cause of this fire is still under investigation.
Yeah, we did reach out to Fire Chief Aaron Lipsky earlier this morning, who tell us the fire is still under investigation. We also asked him if there were multiple fires set in the apartment complex. He says he can't confirm. However, we did catch up with a lot of residents who say the common theme among their stories is that there was an argument before the fire started. So as of right now, while we're still waiting to get that part at least situated, we'll of course keep people updated on that developing story.
Yeah, something we will continue to investigate. Duke Carter live at Holler Park this morning. Duke, thank you.
It's been a very emotional process.
Weeks after a fire damaged this Milwaukee apartment building, Deborah Meyer has finally been able to get a look inside.
It was hard. The building is dark. It's hard to breathe. It's like it's not even our apartment. It's like it's a haunted house.
She lived on the 2nd floor. She says many of her belongings are destroyed by smoke and soot. That's not the only hard part.
We all want to know what happened. We all want the person that's responsible to be held accountable.
Court records show on Saturday, 45-year-old Lakeisha Worley was charged in connection to starting a fire at the building. The same morning, a couple of hours earlier, she was not charged with setting the building on fire or the deaths of 5 people who died there. A criminal complaint explains Worley did not live in the building and was seen on surveillance lighting a key fob on fire. Prosecutors say Worley admitted to police she damaged the key fob because it was beeping and she was using a lighter to smoke crack.
I don't think this is the end of the story. This is maybe the middle of the story in terms of what ultimately will be revealed about the cause of the fire.
Bob Bauman is the alderman for the district and says the investigation is ongoing.
I suspect in the next couple of days or weeks we may hear more information.
Meyer is being patient, looking for a little bit of closure.
We do want answers, and so do the building people, but we want them to be the correct answers.
All right, bro, man. Just condolences.
Yeah.
To all the family members of the victims.
Right, because there were five that died.
Yes. You know, people who didn't have to die. And it was just a situation where somebody let their emotions get to them and decide to go ahead and do something that would purposely affect other people's lives and even take other people's lives.
Yeah, even take other people's lives, and that fire displaced over 100 people. The fire started on the 3rd floor, but they had to shut the whole apartment building down, apartment building was kind of old, so they kind of grandfathered into sprinkler system. Yeah, they didn't have to get one. They didn't have to have them back in when that building was constructed. So they kind of grandfathered into that, which if they had it, it probably would have been a better chance to contain the fire.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, they didn't have it. And just a domestic situation that turned deadly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. The thing is that just the simple fact that, we hear about these stories all the time.
Right.
About domestic issues and stuff like that, and just people going out and just losing their mind off of a single instance, man.
Yes.
Do you feel in your heart of hearts that relationships, whether that be the man or the woman, do you feel like in your heart of hearts that the relationships is one of the top toxic, emotional, draining things that a person can go through that would cause them to push them to do something drastic like that?
Oh yeah, it's in the heat of the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. In the heat of passion. You know what I mean? It's the most dangerous relationship people could be in. At times. Because even for law enforcement, it's like one of the most dangerous situations because
I can see that.
Once when you're, like you said, high on emotions. And some of the people might be high, they might be drinking, so it even intensifies even more.
Right.
You'll have the some of the people that hold the wife and the kids hostage and having 4 or 5 hour standoffs with the police and stuff. It's just, it can get really messy, bro. You know what I mean? And this is a prime example, man. You know what I mean? Where emotions were high and there was no thought process behind it.
Not at all.
Because what did everybody else have to do with your situation?
Ooh,
Excuse me, you know what I mean? And like I said, I'll say it again, because of that, a lot of people got displaced, and then, but I ended up finding out that, some of them people been in there for over 30 years.
Yes.
And a lot has changed within 30 years.
Yeah.
So now they gotta find new apartments. Well, guess what? A lot of stuff has changed since 30 years.
Woo!
Now it's tougher to get into a place. You need to have a decent credit score and stuff. And, virtually nothing in your past that would say you're not responsible to rent to.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So, you have that. You have people that, you know, that just, I don't know. They can't afford the rent either because, you know, them people were still paying kind of close to what they were doing, what they were paying, you know, back then. You know, I mean, it went up some, of course, but I mean, like for a 2-bedroom in a lot of places, like $1,100. You know what I mean?
Easy.
$1,100.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people that lived in that building don't even have it. A lot of them on fixed incomes.
Yeah.
Because you had a lot of elderly people in there too.
That's right.
You know, but the rent was still affordable because they didn't really jack up the rent on them like that. You know what I mean? But now that they don't have a place to go, you know, now they got to find another place, and a lot of apartments, you know, or real estate owners or whatever that own apartment buildings, they have really a strict, you got to pay for the application for one.
Yeah.
The rental application, and you know they do a thorough check on you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them people that got displaced are not getting picked for apartments. They are denying them. And so, you know, and I want to say shout out to the American Red Cross. I think they're one of the greatest organizations, you know, on the planet, because they do a lot of stuff for people, you know, that are involved in disasters like fires or, you know, hurricanes. So I mean, the Red Cross is just worldwide. And, you know, these are people that volunteer their time. They're not even getting paid money. They're volunteering their time to help other people, you know. And I just want to just say shout out to the Red Cross, because they opened up a shelter for them that's still open right now. You know, they've got most of the people that were in the fire are okay. They have found other places of residence or whatnot, or they're staying with people, family, whatever. But there's still a small percentage left in the shelter. Whereas, you know, the shelter obviously is only temporary, and they've actually prolonged keeping the shelter open for the people that doesn't have a place to go. So, you know, definitely I would like everybody, you know, I mean, especially our prayer warriors out there, to pray for them people for shelter, for that God find shelter for these people, because, you know, they need a place to stay. They didn't ask to be displaced because of some person that has some emotional problems, you know. But, you know, it was they were like in a time capsule, Mo, and it was like that time capsule got burnt up, and now they're in 2025, and it's like ran up, everything changed, it's different, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, I just, like I say, you know, shout out to Red Cross for helping, you know, to being there for people that go through disasters, you know. And hopefully, you know, again, like I say, pray for the rest of the people in the shelter, that, you know, that they be placed somewhere, you know. So.
Yes, and before we go ahead and wrap it up, I wanted to say, you know, that's a good example of why it's very important that we go ahead and have something set aside to where it's rainy days, you know, for rainy days. For the ones that can do that, if you can do that, if you can afford to put $5 aside, you know, every month, $10 aside every month, if you can afford to do that, please do that, because it'll add up, and you never know when a rainy day will come.
Ever,
you know what I'm saying?
Ever. And that was a day that it poured.
Exactly, a day that it not only just poured, but it also collapsed everything that they had. They like, man, you know what I'm saying? Now, how many of those people had renter's insurance? You know what I'm saying?
See, that's the thing. You know, they're barely paying the rent. Some of them. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now you want them to go to different apartment buildings and pay the rent that they're charging. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just think there should have been, you know, again, you know, thank God for Red Cross, because they did give them some money and stuff and try to help them and whatnot, you know. But I mean, I would think there would be some type of discrimination law and say, well, hey, you know, we're not going to rent to you because of this or that, you know. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, they got a thing called CCAP here.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you can check a person's rental history out.
Yeah,
You know,
and they criminal history too.
In the course of criminal history, but with some of them that had criminal history, we're talking about over 20 years ago,
Right.
but they're still being judged for that for the new apartments, and the new apartments are not, they don't want to rent to them,
Right.
whether they got the money or not. But
That's
we're talking about
crazy.
something that happened 20 years ago, so I just want to kind of bring awareness out here, people, that that's not really fair. You know what I mean? And I just again, just pray for the, I pray for the victims of the fire, and that they will be placed in homes very soon. So
Yes. Well said, bro.
all right.
So hey, y'all go ahead, y'all leave your comments in the comment section below, and let us know what you think about this clip right here, and just this whole story right here. And we'll go ahead and we will reply to your comments. If you comment, just go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, that notification bell so you can be notified when we come out with new videos. And till next video, you all, peace.